Hey, welcome back, YouTubers, to another hashtag TTH showcase and unboxing and review. It has been a while. I apologize. Things my side have been getting a little busy. Now that COVID restrictions are relaxing in the country I'm in, we can start getting back to semi-normal. Which means I'm now going to be continuing working, and my time's going to become a little less and more restricted. So there will be more reviews. Don't stress. And building reviews. And those of you that are following my Facebook group, Tabletop Hobbies, the Terrain Technician, then you can keep track of what I'm doing. So the group will be updated more than my YouTube channel. But anyways, let's dive into it. So just want to clarify something before I get right into it. My channel name is Tabletop Hobbies Terrain Technician. I do both. So it's not just the one. I mainly do terrain, but every time I get a model set, it'll encourage me to do terrain for that set. And then, of course, wargaming terrain, which I'll start doing videos on. So like this, for example, I have been playing Star Wars Armada. Those of you that play it will know. Fleet-based game. Obviously, if you're into Star Wars, you have the models. I will be doing a review on my fleet that I've been collecting. And being a World War II enthusiast for a long time, I've always wanted a naval fleet combat version. Just like the Warlord games Black Seas edition, which is the Napoleonic era. I was contemplating, maybe I'll get that at a later point, but this piqued my interest purely because of the different factions and the way the models are. So yes, let's dive into it. So this is Warlord Games Victory at Sea, and this is the Pacific variant. It's the two-player starter set. Unfortunately, well, sorry, not unfortunately, there is an Atlantic version variant to this game where you get the Brits and the Germans, and then I think there's a Mediterranean variant where you get the Italian Navy. Those are all fine, but they don't have starter sets for them for some reason. Maybe they will later on, but it would be nice, like a Atlantic type theme, so you get a few British ships, German forces, and then maybe a few merchant ships. But yeah, this is brilliant. There's the rulebook. I took it out already to have a look through. Compared to Star Wars Armada, it seems a bit more complex. Look, I'm someone who has dyslexia, so even the simplest of games can seem a bit tricky to me and those of you who share the same problem. But anyway, let's dive into it. So I'm going to unpack, and then I'll continue the video. Welcome back. It turns out I ran out a bit of space. But anyway, so what a bunch of stuff. I'd already built these. I put the parts together. They were quite small, so painting should be an interesting challenge. So what do you get? So you get your markers, your range tool, smoke markers, damage control markers, different ship tokens, and then your damage sliders. And then you get your ship cards. And now I believe every ship set, fleet set, whatever you get with a set, you will get these ship cards. I'm not going to go through all of them because they represent every ship sitting there. You get a, nearly said German, apologies, Japanese side, and then a US side being Pacific. It's pretty detailed. So let's have a look at this. The Furotaka class cruiser, excuse the spelling. Sorry, focus there. So what do you get? Yeah, all the info, range of the guns. The number grid on the top and bottom of the card is your damage grid. So it's quite interesting the way they've done that. Gives you all the ship, the point value, everything you need to know when playing. And then just a bit about what it has, sort of traits and that in your weight, speed, crew, displacement, length. So quite interesting. Bit of history there, because I know these ships are based off real ship classes, which are quite cool. They're not fictional. So as I said, yeah, you get the different ones. So that's your ship cards, quite a lot there. And then as I said, your tokens, and then you get 2 mats, which are pretty cool. And then I know a lot of people don't use them. They're a bit like play mats, just if you haven't got a proper surface to play on. And then I think they're pretty. I personally am going to do a lot to them. I might laminate them. I'm definitely going to do some terrain for this. I'm actually going to do the 2 islands for the Midway Atoll. being a terrain enthusiast. But now let's dive into the main. And then you get your dice. So before I forget, you do get your playing dice. So let me just put this to one side and I'll be right back to discuss ships. Okay, so let's dive in. So before I start, you get 3 Japanese destroyers for some reason, and then you get 6 Fletcher. I believe these are Fletcher class. Oh, yeah, Fletcher class destroyers. Pretty cool, decent size. Apologies about the focusing, guys. And then you get your bigger ships, your battle cruisers, and no heavy battleships in this set. Unfortunately, it would have liked to, but I have been doing a bit of research around the time of the Pacific campaign during the early stages, right up to the Battle of Midway. The Americans didn't have any functioning warships at the time. A lot of them got crippled at Pearl Harbor, so they had a lot of their cruisers left. So these are the Northampton classes. And then you get your character one. So this is the Indianapolis, very famous. If you know your history on that one, you'll know why that name is quite known. The Chicago, and then the actual USS Northampton. And then they're pretty neat. They've got dates next to them. So look, guys, if you're into small-scale models and tabletop wargaming, then this is for you. I have been reading on this game. The only gripe people have is the bases. They said they're quite unnecessary. They would have preferred just having the ships on their own. I can understand if you're playing a small table, that this base adds a lot of size. But I just think, once they painted, I think the base will add quite nice. And I think if they didn't have the bases, picking these things up on their own is quite tricky. So, yeah, those are the 3 you get for the Americans. I'm looking forward to collecting more. I'm planning on getting the US fleet expansion, which gives you a carrier. I see from the Battle of Midway, the only carrier that's known as the Yorktown. I don't know why they don't have the Enterprise or the Hornet. Maybe they do. I haven't checked yet. Look, guys, I'm brand new into this, so I'm still learning how to play, but I'll definitely do a review on these once they're painted. And then you get the Japanese ones. Now, we all know, well, most of you that have learned your World War II history, let me just get a bit closer there, apologies. The Japanese cruisers were a lot more advanced and had a lot more armaments on them. The American ones were a little old-fashioned. So, yeah, as I said, I'm not a complete buff and I don't know all the specs, but I know that in terms of when the Americans were faced with a war with Japan, they were a little outnumbered, and from terms of equipment and planes, they were also outgunned because the Japanese planes and carriers and ships were a little more advanced. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. This is a discussion. But what's really cool is they give you the name and then the class. So it's in terms of putting these together, they were quite tricky. I know that some of the sets come with metal components, which are quite nice because then you can reflex the barrels. Like these plastic ones were kind of bent when I got them, so I tried flexing them up, but it doesn't really work. And then these pieces, I mean, they could have just had them on. I suppose they wanted to give you a bit of building. And if you are going for the set, guys, please just check before you get into it. I didn't, and I only realized now that this was missing a funnel. A bit disappointing, but maybe some battle damage. So yeah, not a bad 2-player starter set. I think they could have included a carrier because if you follow the Pacific campaign as much as I do, carriers were used. So, but in terms of 2-player, not bad at all. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this set, and if those of you who are into this stuff, let me know what you think. Let me know what sets you've got. I think if I go US, I'm going to have to bolster the Japanese fleet as well. Still working out what paint scheme I'm going to do. But yeah, as I said, not a bad set. I will, in terms, my only bit of negativity come with the manual. As I said, I need really basic instructions when I'm learning a game, like, step 1, step 2, which they give. But if I compare it to Armada and yes, Armada, Star Wars Armada is not Warlord games, but they give you really basic information on how to play, how to move the units, how to roll the dice. This one doesn't. I had to ask a friend online how the damage card works because in the manual I could not find a paragraph that told me how to do it. They do, but not in an easy way to get you to understand. So that's my only gripe. I think the manual could have been a bit more explanatory. But in terms of models, I honestly don't have a problem with the quality. I don't have a problem with, as I've said, yeah, the quality and the size, maybe teeny bit bigger, maybe, but other than that, no, I'm actually quite pleased. The detail's really cool. And even if you're not going to play, I mean, you can buy this, sell off some of it, and just keep the unique ones on a display, you know. And I personally bought the set not just to play, but also to reenact some of the major battles, like the Battle of the Coral Sea or Midway or the Wake Island Atoll, you know, just to get an understanding of the strategy behind it. I'm a really big fan of strategy. So, but anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Though, to my followers currently, really appreciate it. Keep liking that like button and hitting that subscribe. Please, it means a lot. You're helping me grow the passion, and I'll manage to support all of you with hobby channels. And then, of course, those of you who want to follow what I do in depth, please hit me up on Facebook. Tabletop Hobbies Terrain Technician. I'll leave the name in the description. But as always, I hope you enjoyed, and until my next video, thanks guys.